My name is Joseph. I've been active in the Refold community on and off now for about 6 months. It took me some time, but I finally finished my first 99-day Anki streak of only pure immersion cards. This is the story of how I got here, where I want to go next, and a bit of my philosophy on language learning, now that I've spent 4 to 8 hours a day immersing for 99 days. I moved to Korea back in summer of 2014. I had just finished my 7th year of undergrad, finally accomplishing a coveted bachelor's in philosophy. And not knowing what to do with my life, I decided that I would be like every other weeb on the internet and try to move to Japan. I signed up for an ESL teaching accreditation program, completed it in about 4 weeks, and started looking for jobs. I very quickly found that it was oddly competitive and it provided a living perpendicular to my then current upper middle class lifestyle. Around the same message boards were people talking about living and teaching in Japan. There were sister sites for people living in Korea. I quickly found that people's experiences teaching seemed relatively comparable. The pay was higher, and more of your expenses like rent and utilities were generally covered by employers. Feeling demotivated about failing my fifth interview, I decided to apply to a couple jobs in Korea. The responses were immediate. I had like 3 offers in a week, and I decided to take the one that paid the most. I was on my way to Changwon, South Korea. I faced a problem though. I had just spent 6 months studying Japanese, and I was on a plane to Korea. I did Tae Kim's grammar guide. I did Genki. I learned to read and write the 500 most common kanji. I had memorized up to 1,500 vocabulary words. I was watching anime without subtitles every goddamn day. And now I was on my way to Korea. Teaching in Korea was an excellent experience, but finding a language learning community like AJAT before Korean back in 2014 was next to impossible. The closest thing I could find was r/Korean, and we all know how that is. So I did what any sane language learner would do. I went to the local bookstore in my brand new Korean town and bought every book I could find for beginners. I did a really good job to learn the basics. I studied every day. I became an outputting wizard. 화장실 어디세요? 피자 가게죠? 이거 하나 주세요. korewa pen des. You name it, I could output it. Even though I had already learned about AJAT and experienced its magic, for some reason, I followed traditional advice for learning Korean. I studied the hell out of grammar. I prepared hard for the topic, and I did as much output as possible, trying to gauge the native population's reactions. And let's be honest, Korean people were polite as fuck, and my Korean was hot flaming garbage. But I was blinded by my naivete and Haguma charandas. So I went back to America after about 3 years abroad, feeling pretty good about my Korean. Moving back to America was a welcome change. I was burnt out living in what had become the countryside surrounded by Jangain and Nilguni. The closest thing to civilization was a lone loteria and pizza school in my three-block village of Imshil. I was spending 6 hours on the road every weekend traveling back and forth to Changwon to visit my girlfriend. But now I was with my newly wedded wife, unemployed, living in my mom's basement back in America. Things were great. Long story short, I stopped studying for a while. I hashtag learned to code, got a good paying job, and made a man of myself. My wife and I were finally happy. We were finally living on our own and doing good for ourselves. But my wife knew I missed Korea and I loved being a weeb, so she surprised me one Christmas and bought me the entire 42 volume collection of Dragon Ball in Korean. I was so excited. I was thinking I had learned like 4,500 vocabulary words studying for the topic. I had learned grammar all the way through the advanced books of Korean grammar and use. This was going to be super easy. I picked up the first volume, ripped off the tightly wrapped cellophane, and sniffed that new book smell. I could not fully understand a single sentence in the whole goddamn book. My world was shattered. I was sure I was a Korean learning genius after hearing Hangul Charanda every day for 3 whole fucking years. What was going on? I had no idea. I thought maybe I can't understand it because I didn't study for the TOPIK hard enough. So I just powered through. I didn't look up a goddamn single fucking word for 28 volumes, and I loved it. I read a chapter a day for about a year. I reviewed my grammar books, and I didn't learn anything. Around this time, I was thinking, something's wrong. I need to actually learn Korean and not just feel my way blindly through Dragon Ball. So I started going back to my TOPIK vocabulary books because obviously that was the problem. I didn't do enough TOPIK studying. It was such a drag. I had forgotten half of everything I learned before. It was boring as fuck. I needed something new. This was about the same time that Matt vs. Japan videos started popping back up in my recommended feed. I was like, oh my god, this weeb was fucking hilarious. Then I saw his newer videos about Refold, so I downloaded Discord, joined the community, and started immersing. I followed the guide on Refold's website for setting up Anki to a T. I was seeing gains, and I was loving it. I was still not just immersing in Dragon Ball though. I treated that stuff like it was extra. After about 50 days straight of immersing, something came up in my personal life and I had to stop for about 2 months. But when I came back, something changed. I only wanted to immerse in content that I liked. I just binged Dragon Ball and Naruto scans for 99 days. I listened to Korean punk music, and I loved every minute of it. While I was on my sabbatical, my good friend Kevin, your 68 ninth favorite Korean vlogger, aka Not Satan, he recommended a book to me. What it's called doesn't matter, but it gave me what I needed to stop looking for shortcuts and to focus on what mattered weeb shit. And that's where I'm at now. And that's my philosophy. I'm gonna keep doing weeb shit until I don't want to anymore. I'm gonna only care about reading stuff I love. I'm going to increase the amount of content I watch to improve my listening by watching reruns of anime. And hopefully, I'll still be here immersing in 265 more days, uploading another video for my 1 year anniversary. Thank you for watching.